day one, and you do incredible, incredible work.
Thank you. Thank you. We are, it's interesting. We're down, we have an election in Georgia tomorrow. And what's really crazy, I'm so frustrated. I've been getting phone calls, bombarded all day. Matter of fact, Little John folks called us today because he had applied to get his, and it's public, he had applied to get his vote, to get his absentee ballot, and it never came. And so even Cliff's son, my partner's son, didn't get his. I mean, there are hundreds of folks, I even think it's thousands of folks, who applied for their absentee ballots, and they haven't gotten them, and election is tomorrow. So even when you went to early vote, it was 6 hours to wait in line. That's intentional. I mean, at the end of the day, we really got to deal with, we're going to have to gird up. We really are. We're going to have to organize, because if they're doing that now, imagine what's going to happen in November. So we're really going to have to, we're going to have to take this serious. This ain't no game, like even in voter suppression. So folks are going to really have to do some work. All day today, I just keep getting calls. As a matter of fact, my senator in this area she didn't get hers. So she's all day today, she's been going back and forth. So here is that, matter of fact, she's the head of the Democratic Party here in Georgia, Senator Akima Williams. And she hasn't gotten her ballot. And she applied for a ballot 2 weeks ago. So it's, it's all this stuff going on, and we really, really got to step up, and we got to organize. So I just wanted to take a couple of minutes just to talk to you and tell you how much I thank you and the support you did for March of Our Lives. You have just been,
No way.
you yourself.
No way. I think look, we jump into things when we can. You jump into things every single day. And one of the reasons I want to do this talk, and this will be the first of many of you and I on social media, I'm sure. I just want to get you, as many people to know your work as possible at Black Voters Matters Fund, and what you do on a daily basis, because you're originally from Selma, you live in Atlanta now, you have changed so many elections by getting out and helping people register to vote, to actually vote, and to help work against voter suppression. And I just think that more people need to know the name Latasha Brown. They need to know the work that you do, and they need to support it, especially in times like these. Because with all the marching, I marched yesterday, with all the marching that we're doing, with all the activism, and I was scared yesterday. The first time out of the house is quarantine. With all the marching we're doing, we need to make an actual difference in our legislation, because we're in a broken system. And that's the biggest lesson I've had to learn this week, that I've always felt on the side of good. And what I realized is I can't take money from a broken system and not pay the debt, and accept the sins. And I think it's really important that I help use our profile to help build your profile as best we can, bring more eyeballs to what you're doing, and so continue to support what you're doing, because this election can be changed if people just register and actually come out to vote. And by the way, that's not just on a national level, that is on a local level, because you might say, well, man, the president has nothing to do with me, or this has nothing to do with me. But I promise you, your local DA has something to do with you. Your local mayor has something to do with you. And with everything you're talking about in Georgia, Governor Kemp has to deal with Keisha Bottoms, because people came out and voted for her. So I just love the work that you're doing, and I want to be supportive.
Thank you. Some of the work that some of the people that are looking at us today on Black Voters Matter, some of the states that we're really right now, we've got operations in, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee. If you're in any of those states, please check us out. But we're also doing some work. We've been supporting, one of the things that we set up, Scooter, just recently, is we set up a resistance fund. And so we've been bailing people out who have been protesting as part of the work that we're doing. And we're actually supporting 20 funds right now around our area, around the country, to really be able to, people have the right. People have the right to protest in this country, right? And at the end of the day, people have to remember how America started, that at the end of the day, folks will say riot and XYZ. That's literally the foundation of this country, was what was called the Boston Tea Party, right? And so ultimately, people really doing the kind of work that they're demanding. We're supposed to demand of our government. We're in this moment, I think we're in this moment right now, that we're supposed to have a radical reimagining of America. Why would we not want an America that everybody can live and live in peace? Why would we not want America where people can prosper and folks can make money for working? If you work, you should be able to eat, right? People are working and don't have enough money to pay their rent. That's ridiculous. And we keep stepping over it like it's not a big deal, but we're spending billions and billions of dollars for the police, right, and for law enforcement. And so I think it's really important for us to have some real conversations. Like even for us with Black Voters Matter, we don't think that voting is, let me say this, that all of my life's work has been dedicated to doing this kind of work. I don't believe that voting is enough. That's not what I believe. What I believe is that voting is one tool for us to show our agency, to reduce harm happening in our community, to get people out of office that don't look out for our best interests, to put people in office that align with us. And at the end of the day, I'm like this, Scooter, if anybody's going to make a decision about me, I need to be a part of that.
Well, listen, I'm wholeheartedly in agreement with you, and that's why I met you and I said this woman is my spirit animal. And the reason I adore you is that one of the things you said to me when we first met that I loved, you said, look, a lot of activism starts in anger, but it needs to be worked on with love. And you said that you said that you went in, you did the work. And I just think that you are an absolutely loving person. And that is why I want to continue to support what you do, because you care about people. And more people need to know about your work, because your work changes lives. And you're passionate about it, and you were able to study from the greats, you know, and also touch these young people. So I really think it's so important. You know, when I spoke to different organizations, it kept coming back to your name. Everyone's saying, look, if you want to get out and get people to actually vote, the person who understands messaging, the person who understands how to connect people better than anybody is Latasha Brown. So I just thought it was so important to get to know you, and it's been a real blessing. And I know we share a mutual friend in Mama Jan.
Right.
But I got
shout out
to Mama J, absolutely. And I think more and more people need to understand, just so you know, you know, whoever's watching, and I know you're going to put it up in your page later, so more people can see it later, and I'm going to shout it out as well. Tell them about what your organization does.
So Black Voters Matter, we are a power building organization. So we've got three big buckets to help people understand our work. Right now, what we're doing is we're providing support for folks around COVID-19. We have a Saving Ourselves Fund, so we've been actually providing everything from PPE to masks to testing throughout the country. The second thing in that, we also build capacity of grassroots groups. The entire focus of our organization is building collective power on the ground. And so right now, we're supporting over 150 Black-led grassroots groups. And we don't do that just when it's an election. We say 365. We do that ongoing because we think that it's not about election. It's really about us building power. And so we do things like we're providing resources to them. We actually give them tools, whether it's text messaging, whether it's giving them voter databases, also being strategic with them and doing training, but they're our partners. That's how so it's in the spirit of movement. We're movement builders. In addition to that, a lot of the work we do is around narrative change too, because oftentimes the message, like one of the races that we worked in, Scooter, as you know, was in Alabama, and it was in the Doug Jones race. And so all these folks were like shocked, like, what happened in Alabama? Like it was a fluke. No, it wasn't a fluke. What wound up happening, people on the ground who had been doing this work, we were able to resource them. There were others that were able, and we worked together. We worked collectively together, and with our power, we shocked the world. And we believe that strategy works all over. When people are empowered, you can't be stopped. And so we think that our work is really rooted in love and power. Just like you said, we believe that you can't, you know, a lot of times there are campaigns that just want people to be scared. You can't fear, like at some point, you shut off fear, right? But at the end of the day, like I think about my child, and even think about your children, Scooter. Is there anything you wouldn't do to protect your children?
Nothing.
Like, no, there's nothing, right? So ultimately, the greatest power we can have is love. That even when we're doing this work, sometimes we're doing work and we're really not thinking about the power. We think that if I can get control of the system, because the system has power. Yes, there's power in the system, but the real power is in us. And so our belief is mighty rivers are filled drop by drop. If we're able to connect folks, remind them of their power, give them some resources to do the work, we can shift this thing. This is our country. This isn't a matter of a few people making the decisions for the rest of us. Ultimately, this is our country, and we should really shape it to be the nation that we envision it to be. But be able to do that, y'all, we got to do the work. And the truth of the matter is democracy ain't just going, like, you know, we're sitting there saying the Constitution, but let's be clear. When the Constitution was created, the founders of this country couldn't even see me and you having this conversation right now, Scooter. They couldn't even envision me being in a position of leadership, right? Yet here I stand. And I stand because there were some people who organized, had a greater vision, and I am their hope and their dream. My great-great-grandmother was actually bought on an auction block, great-great-great-grandmother, 30 minutes from the home that I grew up in Mobile, before I moved to Selma. Ultimately, yet here I stand. Because when people are determined, and when you're on the side of right, and you're propelled by love and not fear, can't nobody stop you. That's really what I believe in my heart of hearts. That's what I've seen. That's what my life demonstrates.
Listen, anyone watching, follow this woman. How can you not love this woman? And the other thing I want to say to you, because I want you to hear from me. I want you to hear from a white man whose family moved to this country. We're not allowed to move to this country as a white family and just say that the ways that they're before aren't on us. That's what I've learned this week. I can't come here and benefit from this country without accepting the sins of this country. So that's why I'm wanting to do the work with you, because the real thing I want to say to you is anyone who has a problem with equality has a problem with the foundation of what we're all supposed to believe in. That's my biggest problem. I don't want anyone who's like, oh, it should be all lives matter, not Black lives matter. Well, if there's a community in pain, why can't we focus on that? Why can't we focus? If someone's in the room and someone falls down and EMTs have to run in to serve that person, you don't see other people running over and say, do not treat them. I matter too. No, you have to treat the person that's in need. Right now, the Black community has been in need in a way that I will never, ever fathom or understand. So I know that right now we need to focus on that. And anyone who has a problem with that is scared, and scared of something I don't know, but I think they're scared of us all being equal. And that's unfortunate. That's completely unfortunate. Because the problem is you should want someone to be on the block with you to start the race at the same point. You should want a fair race.
That's right.
You shouldn't want to be 50 yards ahead. Nobody wants to race in a race you're 50 yards ahead. You should want to be equal with someone. You should want to have pride in what you do every single day and know that someone has an equal opportunity. And because I've benefited, and now I've realized all these conversations, and you know I grew up in a very unique setting. So I always thought I was on the side of justice. But now I finally have understood that I automatically, regardless of my actions, I got a head start. So I can't accept that head start and not acknowledge it. You know, like, and it doesn't make me a bad person to acknowledge that I was given a head start. I was given a head start. And I want your family to be given the same start as me. I got to go back to the line. I got to go back there and do the work, because that's what it really, really needs to be. And it's just not right. And that's why I was proud to march yesterday. I was scared as hell. I put the gloves on. I put the mask on. COVID is no joke. COVID is no joke. But if there are enough people around the world marching right now, that should speak volumes to people. That should speak absolute volumes to people, to what they're willing to risk for equality. And I want to be a part of that.
You know, I'm interested in, do you think that this moment is different? Like for you, because we've had protests before and there's been pieces before, and I know you got a good sense of pieces. And I think part of your success has been you have a good sense of trends and things moving. I'm just wondering, like, what do you think? What do you see?
What I see is that my friend called me today and we were talking, and he said, sports, our jobs, the whole world had to stop for us to sit in our houses and realize the injustice that has been going on in this country for the Black community. And he thought, he felt for him and his family it was divine intervention, you know? And I know that we are in a setting right now where we're all paused. This quarantine has paused all of us. It's made me focus on what I want for my life moving forward, what I want for my family. And now it's making us realize what it makes us want for all of our friends and our fellow man and woman, you know, and anyone fighting that is holding on to an old broken system and an old broken history. You know, so, you know, the problem, and I want to stress this because I want anyone white to watch, to know this. The problem is when the world goes back, when it opens back up, you don't get to turn off racism. You don't get to go home. I do. And that's why it's just as important that when this thing slows down, the people who look like me keep standing side by side with you and keep going back and admitting our privilege and saying this ain't right, this ain't fair, let's get this right. But it's not going to be a couple marches. It's not going to be one election in November. You know, we go to school, and in social studies, they're teaching us only about great white men. You know, like this is about slowly committing to changing an entire system. So I'm committed to it, and I'm going to get it wrong along the way. I want to be clear about that.
Right.
But as long as I have friends like you yelling at me, keeping me accountable, I'm going to keep trying to get it right.
I just talk loud, that's all.
Me too.
Right. You know, Scooter, one of the things that I think that we also underestimate is we underestimate the damage of racism to white people, right? And this is what I mean by that racism has, right now, if we needed to have a perfect storm of really understanding the damage of racism, it is in this moment in COVID-19. Right now, in the wealthiest country in the world, when we're looking at the healthcare system, it is overwhelmed by one virus. Why is that? Because I do think that fundamentally part of the problem with the healthcare system in this country has been trying to create these systems that are inequitable and unjust, and really underneath that are driven by racism. And while there are some that can get access to better healthcare, imagine that if we created a healthcare in mind that we're going to create the best healthcare for all of the citizens of this country, it would be better for us all.
I agree.
Like ultimately, even when we're thinking about this disease, at the end of the day, when we're talking about COVID-19, while Black people have been disproportionately impacted because of all of the other underlying challenges and poverty and some of the other pieces, the health issues that we have related to racism, the truth of the matter is the virus does not check to see what box you check off around race. On some level, that should be a wake-up call of how interdependent we are and how connected we are in our humanity. And at some point, some of us going to have to have some damn courage and really just step into that. Because at the end of the day, I really do believe it only takes us. We don't need everybody. You know, one of the stories I would hear in Selma when I was growing up is everybody in Selma said that they were on the bridge with Dr. King. Everybody marched with Dr. King. If as many people were on the bridge with Dr. King that said that they were, the bridge would have collapsed. The truth of the matter is there was a smaller group of folks, and they changed the world. And as a result, other people got a part of it and not only benefited from it, but now are proud of it. So there takes some of us, the courageous, that have literally got to say, no, we deserve something better, that we're going to tap into a greater power that transcends gender and race and sexual orientation, and it really is rooted in love and our humanity. And when we really tap into that thing, we like some gladiators.
Listen, I'm loving you, and I'm watching different people that are excited, but I want to say there are young people watching this. You and I had an offline conversation. I want to stress this. People got to understand that not everyone is going to be as woke or advocate or be the ally that you want them to be by your rule book.
Absolutely.
And we got to help and make space for people and allow people to come in and have conversations and ask ignorant questions and argue with each other and disagree. But if they have a common goal, they have to be able to go after that common goal together, united. And the other problem I'm having is this idea that if you don't like how someone's doing something, but you're going after the same goal, you go on social media and put them on blast.
Yeah, that cancel culture is killing me.
It's killing me because it's not helpful.
It's killing
People
me.
need to have a conversation.
It's not helpful.
Because, by the way, that's what the people who want the old system to stay, that's what they want.
Absolutely.
They want that
Absolutely.
shit. They want people to sit there and break each other down and argue, and divided they will fall. You know, and that is why I just asking, people need to make space. You know, I've had some conversations this week that have been so enlightening but they could have gone the other direction if we didn't speak to each other. You know, like, and I just think that right now people need to absolutely make space for each other. If you really want to make change, make change. If you want to be heard, that's fine. Just say, I want to be heard. But if you want to make change, there's a different thing. Making change takes patience. Making change takes bravery. You know, and you were talking to me about what you want to speak to these young activists about. Go ahead.
So a couple of things. One, I know we got Instagram, but there's no such thing as instant activists. We can be instant activated in a way where we're activated and we're moved. But I think part of what we have to understand is we've got to give each other grace and space to allow ourselves to grow, to live our ideology, for us to really be able to connect. The most important thing, y'all, is not the action. It is the relationship. I've seen so many people enter this work and say, we're going to change the world, and they mistreat other folks. Like, is that what we're doing now? Like, or they're embittered. But I will say, there are a couple of things I will say to young folks that you do. This is your moment. You know, there's something really, this is your moment. This is the first time in our lifetime that young people you all have finally eclipsed the baby boomers. That's a big deal, y'all. So literally the power is with you. If you all decide that this country is going to go in this direction, you have the numbers, you have the energy to do that. In addition to that, I'm sitting here, Scooter, and I'm looking at these marches, and I am seeing the most diverse, like, front lines. I'm seeing people from all walks of life. Do you know how beautiful that is? That's the America. That's the America that I want to live in. Those are the folks who I want to run this country. I need y'all to take over. Come on, take over. I need you to take over. But I also need it to be grounded in something that's real, that is not about how many Twitter followers you have or Instagram followers, even though I hope I get a couple of more followers, but y'all, I got some work there. But some followers, but it's really around, and I want to tell folks this. You cannot, and this is from Chokwe Lumumba, who was an amazing man, a mentor to many, who was the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi. He would say this all the time. You can't lead the people if you don't love the people. And so I always go back to love, because a lot of times I see people do this work and it's not rooted and grounded in love. But ultimately, if we can ground this in love, build relationships, and have a radical reimagining of what we want to see this country to be, can you imagine, why are we in the wealthiest country in the world and there are people who are worried about food right now? Like, just think about that, y'all. It don't make sense, right? Why are we in the wealthiest country in the world and we don't have the top health care, right? And part of this is because there has been these unequal systems that we have allowed to just go unchallenged, right? But this is your moment. So if you are listening right now, there's a couple of things I'm going to offer to you. One,
listen to her. Listen to her. Go ahead. Listen to her.
Follow us on Black Voters Matter. If you're interested in volunteering, or you want to be down with some cool folk who are doing the work, text We Matter to 797979. That's We Matter, WEMATTER, to 797979. Also, we're going to start doing, this is Liberation Summer. I need you to hear me what I'm saying. This is Liberation Summer. And so part of what we're going to do is we're actually creating a training series. I did a training 2 days ago. We had 16,000 people online. We were like, where do these people? Folks are hungry, right, to know what to do. We've got to take this energy. Yes, we are pissed off when we're mad. We've got to take this energy and direct it so that we can literally transform this country. This isn't about transactional politics. This is really about transformation. Y'all, this is our moment. It is happening right now because this is our moment. And so we'll be doing teach-ins. If you follow us on Facebook, if you go to our website, we'll have teach-ins that we're doing where we'll talk about what are some of the strategies that people who are in this position and movements past, what is it that they did? Because it didn't just start with us. This has been an ongoing movement of us to build. You'll also hear from some amazing people, young folk on the front lines that are doing the work. I think, Scooter, that's what makes me so excited. What really makes me excited is the number of young folks that I am seeing stepping in this leadership gap. that are literally coming, bringing themselves, putting them on the front line, really doing work. But I also like to say I got three bits of advice. One, find a political home. Join an organization, pull your group. You cannot just deal with this as an individual. We are where we are because people were thinking as individuals instead of collective power. We are stronger when we think together. So find a political home that you join. Secondly, liberation ain't free. Checks got to be written. So find an organization, whether it's Black Voters Matter or other organizations, whether it's Movement for Black Lives, whether it's Woke Vote, I can name on. I can give you some organizations, but organizations that are doing good work, we've got to fund our movement, whether that's $5, $10, $100. Do that. 3, read.
Go ahead.
Let me repeat that one. Read. And I'm saying go beyond Twitter and Facebook and the social media. We have got to read and study and really understand that the movement didn't show up because we showed up, that there's nothing new under the sun. The goal is, how can I take what has been done before me and tweak it and add my little sauce to it and make it better? That's ultimately what we have to do. And sometimes folks are making mistakes that you don't have to make if you just take the time and study and spend time with those that literally have been in this work and been doing these bridges. And it'll be
I want to say something to that. In business, I have found, as I got to a certain point in my business, my passion was there, right? But then I got to a certain place where I wanted mentorship. And the greatest thing I ever did was take mentorship. So I sought out people who had had great experiences in the spaces I wanted to go, and I asked them questions. I didn't ask to do business with them. I said, I want your wisdom. I want to learn, you know?
That's right.
And I got to say, there's a lot of people who want to know how to do good, and they want to know how to be active, and they want to know how to make a change. And my advice to everyone out there who wants to make that change is to follow Latasha Brown, get to know Latasha Brown, and go to someone like her who's put work into it, and really seek her out and do, you know, and seek her wisdom, because she has a tremendous amount to offer. And I think that, you know, we'd have a lot of great activists in this next generation if they had your wisdom and your guidance. And I really, really believe that people, if you really want to make a difference in the world, seek out difference makers, and Latasha is one of those people.
Thank you, Scooter. Well, my phone, unfortunately, some people may not know, but for some reason, the lights are off in my neighborhood. That's why I am sitting in the car. Scooter, I had me a glass of wine. I was making me a cocktail. I had my nice little background. I just knew I was gonna be cute on Instagram today, but that's okay, right? I am rocking my Prince earrings and my Prince shirt, because I am a super Prince fan. You don't know this, but I followed Prince for three years, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But and so I was just like, okay, we're gonna make this happen. That's the other thing too, and I'm saying this not about myself. Let me say this: when you are committed, you make stuff happen. Like when you make excuses, you make stuff happen. And so ultimately, when we decide that we want justice in this country, it will come to being. When we decide that we want equality in this country, it will happen. It's not like there's some invisible boogeyman like that is out there that is holding us from justice. No, and when we decide to move him the hell out the way, he will move the hell out the way. But we've got to make a decision to do that. And oftentimes I think that we're not, you know, it's interesting because I think about how traumatic, in some ways even painful, some of these moments have been, right? But then I remember a mentor of mine told me, until the pain to change becomes greater than, because the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain to change, you'll stay the same. So something oftentimes has to shift us and uproot us from our comfort zone to force us to really talk about change. And so I think that's where we are right now. I think right now we're in the moment of reckoning. Like, we've got to face the ugliness of the sin of racism that this country has not dealt with. And so we're at this moment. The question is, how will you respond? How will we respond to this moment? Because it's going to define our generation. It's going to define for our children is going to define the direction of this country. In this moment, this is a transformative, defining moment. But at the end of the day, because I am a love bug, I promise y'all, I believe love always wins. It may, it might take it a little while, it might spurt, it might go up and down, but at the end of the day, the greatest power that I have found, when I didn't have anything else, Scooter, when I didn't have money, when I didn't know where I was going to go, the one thing that I could always pull strength from is love. And so I think that that's where we got to start from that framework. And let's come on, y'all, let's do some work, go get some justice.
Guys, Miss Latasha Brown, you are the greatest. I appreciated this conversation, and I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna call down there to Georgia and Atlanta and say they need to turn the lights back on in your neighborhood. I'm really glad some people got to learn about you today.
Come on, Scooter, because you can make things happen.
Listen, we're gonna make things happen together. This is gonna be a lifelong friendship. So I appreciate you, and thank you for letting me come on your channel and just have this conversation.
Thank you. Blessings to you. And thank you all that have joined us. Make sure to check out Black Voters Matter. Scooter, I love you. Sending you love.
You too.
And the kids with the fire truck. Okay, talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.